Good morning and welcome back to Gaming with ADHD, where today I am joined by the Six World to continue after many, many moons away our deep dive into Battletech Gothic. Six World, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing all right. It's Monday, but I don't have to work today, so it's all good.
I mean, technically, I don't have to work today either. I mean, unless you count like having to start at 9:30 at night today. But I kind of consider that not today. But anyways, that's just me. So I have like the rest of the day ahead of me too. So you're right. It's a good day. We can hang out. Um, and all right. So real quick, folks. I am going to apologize for our delay in this. We were talking about it before we went live. Honestly, we've really only got like 3, maybe 4 more streams to cover all of Battletech Gothic. But between surgeries and illness and travel and more travel and other illness, we apologize.
It's been a wild ride.
And none of it's been horrible. It's just been regular life, Although Six World's new nose looks amazing. We're very proud of him for it.
I mean, it better.
Did a wonderful job.
That stuff ain't cheap.
Well, I'm sure your wife appreciates it.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. But regardless. It's one of those days. So, I guess while we wait for people to show up and anybody to join us in chat, so Battletech, let's see. They've made some announcements. What is your opinion on where Battletech is going? Based on recent announcements.
I'm kind of surprised that we didn't hear anything about their planned alternate universes during what was the last big, was it Gen Con? That was the last big convention?
No, Adepticon.
Yeah. I'm actually a little shocked because they were hyping the AUs up so much, and I don't think they covered it at all.
That's actually, I hadn't considered that, but or at least, let me rephrase that. I hadn't noticed that because usually I just go like, okay, yeah, this is stuff that has been announced. But yeah, last year it was, oh yeah, we've got Gothic coming out. We've got what was the other ray guns?
Yep.
And I want to say they wanted to do like an anime styling one.
Yep. Those were the ones that the big ones that they announced were the ray gun one, which they actually showed concept art for, I believe, which actually looked pretty. I have to admit, it actually looked fairly decent. Much better than the Gothic stuff ended up being. But and then the anime one was like the other one that they kind of teased.
Yeah, so you're right. They dropped absolutely no news about any of them.
I think they mentioned that the Abominations box was coming, and I think that's it. I don't think they said anything else. And yeah, I agree with a nerd's nerd. If they wanted to sustain hype for the AU things, I think I don't know. I don't know if I do it around April 1st, because then everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, it's an April 1st. If it's an April Fool's joke." But yeah, at least one release per year would be the way to do it.
And
maybe you do it on April 1st because that gets the the buzz going too. So
well, but hold on, don't forget, last year it was March 31st that the first leak hit.
This is true. Yep.
And because that was the thing, is everybody was freaking out. They're like, no way, this is a joke, they're not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns out, nope, they are straight up doing it.
Yeah. I knew it wasn't a joke because I got sources.
Yeah, right. Well, but I'm just saying, like that was kind of the buzz in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this can't be real. So yeah, that. But yeah, regardless, they didn't really announce anything. I do recall at least one quick mention about the Abomination figures coming.
Mm-hmm. I think June or something like that. They said sometime, or I think originally it was June, but I think maybe the follow-up announcement was just like, it's coming. Maybe.
Right. So,
doesn't bode well for the alternate universes, I think, because they were all gung ho about it last year.
And I think you're right, because if it, like, even just saying like because I want to say that I heard like a 2-year release window, like it wasn't supposed to be every year, because also that would flood a lot. Mm-hmm. And I like, one of our defenses is that they're not diverting a ton of resources into this. But I think if they were doing it annually, I think that would divert the resources, because possibly now you're having to cycle that. But even then, like, maybe it's just that nobody asked, because if they're going to do a 2-year release cycle, okay, well, they're not going to start talking about it until next year. But even then, at least somebody would have asked, oh, hey, any update on Battletech ray guns or whatever they're calling it. That's a stupid name, by the way.
Yeah, hopefully if they do release it, the name changes. But to your point that, well, maybe nobody asked about it, that's a whole other issue. If they've got like stuff that's planned and they're not mentioning it because, just nobody asked about it. I mean, that's kind of what a venue like Adepticon is for. Like, doesn't matter if people are asking about it, you announce stuff during those big conventions to, like, build the hype and get things going. So if that's the case, that's a whole other issue that I think Catalyst might need to look at. But
well, not necessarily, because if you consider they're doing like they always do releases around Gen Con.
That's true. They're saving it for Gen Con. That is a possibility, because that's coming up fairly soon, I think.
Gen Con's usually end of July, beginning of August. But no, my point is more the release would be in July, August. And so Adepticon is a good announce point for, hey, this is the stuff that's going to be coming out at Gen Con and then being released the rest of the year. And so, again, if we're on a 2-year release cycle for alternate universes, then we'd be looking at Adepticon next year to announce let me rephrase that, to officially announce ray guns, and then a Gen Con for release. But again, that's all speculation and theory on my part.
Yeah.
But I do think, the point about nobody asking about it is more that it's known. It's not that people are unaware of it's them proposing it, but then nobody following up and just saying, hey, what's the track on this? And them saying, oh yeah, another couple of years down the road. Something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with. I mean, we might see a big announcement at Gen Con, but I don't. I think it just kind of is. It's not necessarily a good sign for the AUs. I think maybe they might be realizing that, this is maybe not the way we want to go, and hence the reason why they're jumping more into this new edition of Battletech, even though they're saying it's not really a new edition. It's a new edition. And then the new edition of Alpha Strike that's going to be coming up, which honestly is desperately needed. And then you've got the new Battletech Aces coming out, which that box it just looks kind of meh.
Why is it? Oh man, you just gish galloped on here because there's like so many things I want to talk about. Yeah, because we haven't even gotten into new edition yet. Which is actually funny. That's one reason I want to get through Gothic, because technically Gothic is under previous edition.
Yeah. Yep.
But okay, so we'll talk about this a few more minutes while waiting for people. We're up to 3 viewers. We got 3 whole people that want to know more about Gothic.
Woo.
Okay, so yeah, so that was the other big thing that came out. That actually came out like a week or 2 before, I think, right? Before Adepticon, the new edition.
Probably. That sounds about right.
Because yeah, because what we know so far is we're getting a new core rulebook.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to replace Total Warfare. Now
we're getting a new beginner's box, which is no longer called the beginner's box. And then we're getting that new the new big box, the new Game of Armored Combat box.
Right. And now with all of those, it's all okay, there it is. So here, let's yeah, there we go. Okay, so we've got we've got the core rulebook, the core box, and the starter box. I don't. Oh man, I hate to say that I'm not so keen on the art. I mean, it's art. It's fine. It's not bad art, but it's that stupid same factory syndrome. I hate it.
Yeah, no, it really is. Especially with the core box, it's just kind of eh. I mean, there's not like a lot of action. Yeah, they're firing their lasers. You got one mech jumping in the background, but the rest of them are just kind of standing around, just like strolling. I also am not 100% on board with like the mech choices for either box, but the core rulebook art looks kind of cool with all the battle armor jumping around and getting tossed around.
Right. And so so the one thing that we do know is they're shifting everything to Ill Clan. So
yeah, which I mean makes sense. That's the era that they want to that's the era that they've created recently. That's where all the new fiction is, so that's the one that they want to promote.
Which I don't disagree with that approach, because if you keep publishing everything in 3025 or 3050, that's what everybody's going to play.
Yeah.
You know, regardless of your okay, I've got to address this. All right. Same factory syndrome is the coping call for those who were Stockholmed into thinking napkin scribbles were good designs. But the the art style is a bit weak. Looks like poorly pasted CGI, needs better processing for sure.
I mean, you can say that all you want, but I will die on the hill that the old school Solaris mechs are some of like the coolest mech designs ever.
Ooh, that is some of the roughest art that that you could have picked.
No, the art is awesome. The actual minis themselves, wildly hit and miss, but art style. I like the art. I got a soft spot for the old Solaris art.
So and I'm gonna die on the hill of same factory syndrome is not a coping call, because I'm not trying to say that these are bad designs. I like, seriously, go watch any of my reviews, especially from the mercenary sets, because it was towards the end of the clan invasion Kickstarter sets. That's when I really started getting into the same factory syndrome, because I was comparing all of the art, going from the original stuff, which I'll admit I straight up have nostalgia for. But there was uniqueness, there was difference in the designs, whereas everything since Scroggins took over, I'm sorry, these, this guy and this guy are almost identical mechs. I mean, they're not, but they might as well be. Or I'm an idiot and they straight up are. Actually, I think they might be.
If you really want an example, and yeah, I think those are the exact same mechs, actually, just different variants. But if you really want to see an example of the same mech syndrome, that's really kind of jarring. If you look at the Snowblind box, like the previews that I believe it was the previews that they put out for the new BattleTech Snowblind, the next Aces expansion, lot of those mechs are same, like a lot of them, because they're clan mechs, of course, in there, and they're Ghost Bear mechs, and a lot of them end up looking very, very same.
Six World, this is Snowblind, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that right there. I think you've got like the Viking 2C. I'm assuming that's a Viking 2C, and not just not like the regular Viking. You got like the Viking 2C, and then you got like the Nova, which are like distinct silhouettes, different mechs. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you got those two mechs that look different. And then you've got like all the other mechs, and they got like the same boxy shoulders, they got the same boxy legs. The heavier ones, they've got almost the same, like the Kingfisher and the Grizzly over there, like from the knee down, it's almost the exact same mech. Just like on the Grizzly, you've got like a little bit chunkier and more rounded. But this box right here, I looked at that and I was like, oh my god, they really do look like they all came off the same assembly line.
Right. And that's the thing, is I'm not trying to say that they're all identical mechs. I mean, obviously you can see the differences. It's this one's hunched over, this one, this one's, super tiny. There are differences between the mechs. My point is, well, let's go with cars from, say, 30 years ago, before all the cars started looking identical. You could tell a difference between, a Ford and a Chevy and a Nissan. They looked different. They had different feels. They had different stylings. But these, like all the armor plates and the way that the hinges and the armoring is done, it looks like it was just Bob, cranking out, the engineering schematics, and sending it off, as opposed to, Nerd says, in my estimation, it's the same universe syndrome, which is a good thing. It's a consistent design language.
Consistent design language is good, but it comes to a point where it's too consistent.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like an American car does not look the same as a French car or a Japanese car, or, I mean, yes, they're all 4 wheels and an engine probably up front. But again, you get many different design stylings, different stylings because of environment and equipment and, road structure. So again, it's like, okay, say what you will about I swear I saw one of them recently, but it was the Dark Age mech, the Roko Ruby or whatever. Oh yeah, no, here's one.
Yeah.
Here's one. Like this guy.
Yeah, the
Okay.
Shiro.
Right. Still a little bit of the same factory syndrome, but it's like you looking at this guy, you're like, that's Kurita. That's straight up Kurita. And yes, there are mechs that are completely generic and everybody has them, and General Motors manufactures it in the Lyran Commonwealth, the Free Worlds League, and a little bit in the Federated Sun. So yes, that same design is present everywhere. But again, when all of the mechs kind of have that same factory syndrome, and it's like it's that to me is a little annoying on the design front.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that's what I'm probably going to get Snowblind just for the Viking 2C, because that is a cool mech. I do like the design of that one.
Which this one?
No. Go back to the Snowblind box.
Snowblind. There we go.
Yeah, it's the one. That one right there. Second from the left. The one that looks like a freaking speedboat with just a buttload of missile launchers on it.
A Bane with a few less missiles.
Yeah.
For the record, folks, you bring 3 Bane 3s to my game, you're out. We're done. You lose, I don't care. Just go away. I don't care if you have a box of Doom, you're done. Get out. Anyways, sorry. I had to vent on that. Anyways, I like the designs. I'm glad for the new designs. I think many of the design, or most of the designs, are much better than the original. I just wish there was a little bit of different styling. Anyways, so here's the new core box. Just in case anyone hasn't seen it, looks like we're getting some new pilot card designs.
Yeah, those actually look pretty cool.
I'm like, I'm not sure why. And then I just realized the coloring is to line it up to a faction. Let's see. So Davian, Snow Raven, and Taurean Concordat. So, okay, that kind of makes sense. Makes it a little, like, especially if somebody's collecting them for like force building and whatnot. That's good. But anyways, so this I think is a Mad Cat 2.
I think it's a Mad Cat 3, maybe.
No, Mad Cat 3 is the medium one.
Yeah. It's probably the one that whichever Mad Cat, what's his face, Alaric Ward pilots. That's probably what it is.
That's the Savage Wolf, which is like the 4 or 5.
It's some kind of Mad Cat.
Yeah. Right. We got a Mad Cat, Regent.
Yep. Mad Cat, Regent. We got the Rakshasa, which it looks okay. It looks okay.
Which one's the Rakshasa?
That's the knockoff Mad Cat that the Intersphere designed. It's like a 30. I think it's a 3055 or a 3058 mech.
Okay.
It's okay. And then you got is that a Hollander?
I want to say it's a Hollander.
And then a Pack Hunter.
Yep.
It looks like, which, I mean, 2 mechs with shoulder mounted weapons in the same box is a choice, I guess. Then we got the Uziel, which always looks kind of weird and cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird look, but again, just for the layout, they're doing something really different. So I'm totally here for it. We got a different Mad Dog Vulture.
It's the Vulture Mark IV,
Okay.
which I like that type of Vulture. I think I think it's probably my favorite one. I don't like that one.
Okay.
It's too small. The Mark IV, because I've got the old school Mark IV Mini, and it is chunky. It's broader, like it's wider than the regular Vulture is.
Okay.
Maybe that's not a Mark IV. Maybe that's just a different variant of Vulture. Maybe that's why I don't like it. But it looks like a Mark IV. I think it's a Mark IV. Either way, I don't like it.
Fair enough. All right. And then we've got what's this last one over here?
That's the Eris.
Eris.
I was gonna say Shadowhawk 2C, but it's not. It's an Eris. Which,
Yeah.
I mean, the Eris is an okay mech. I like the look of it. I had the premium version of it. I just wasn't enthusiastic about the premium version because the details on it were like really super soft. But I mean, the Eris is a fine mech.
Okay. So my only complaint about this box set, because overall everything seems fine. You know, we've got actually back here, notice this hit location chart.
Yeah, that's different.
I mean, it's still the numbers, but it's a graphical representation instead, and I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I like that actually, having a visual of where you're hitting on the mech.
Right. And I mean, as long as they still give you like a list, you know, so that I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, because this it's like, oh wait, where's my 8? Where's my 6? You know, I'm fine with having both. You know, but this is good just so that, you know, gets it in your head. Obviously some extra tokens. So overall,
Oh, it's a solitaire. It's not a pack hunter, it's a solitaire. Duh.
Oh. Regardless, still a shoulder mounted weapon. We get 2 of them. So actually, yeah, I like pasta. That's kind of the point about the solitaire and the Hollander. It's the fact that they dropped both of them in the same pack, you know, because you're right, they do look a lot alike. Anyways, my main complaint about this box, they're not changing the maps, which I understand to a point, but I would prefer that they put in new maps and then they could just do like another map set and just include the old ones in there. Because
I mean, everybody likes maps.
I like maps.
If you're a Battletech player, you love the maps.
My buddy Chris only likes the neoprene ones.
I mean, that's a choice, I guess, but I like the old school map sheets because they're nice and portable.
They're portable. They're cheap. Like, think about it, you get like it's $30 for an expensive set, and you get like a dozen of them, or you pay $40 and you get 2.
Yeah, I mean the neoprenes are nicer, but it's better just to, you know, get a paper map out, slap it on the table, and you're good to go.
Yeah, Chris doesn't like the folds. Whatever. Anyways,
it's fair.
Again, still really my only complaint. I would have preferred, you know, new maps, but like compared to everything else that you're getting out of the box, I'm totally okay with it. All right. Then last real quick, because we should get into like the actual purpose of the stream now that we're 30 minutes into it. We've got the starter box, which what is this guy?
That's the Conchio or Contio. I don't know how the hell you pronounce it, but it's a meat. Okay, so I got thoughts about this starter box.
Okay.
Because the starter box is supposed to be it's supposed to be like, your introduction into the game. It's like at least in terms of BattleTech, the beginner box has always been like the stripped down version of the rules to like kind of get you in there and get playing with a minimal amount of fuss, and then you can go find the advanced rules in the other books if you're feeling froggy, or you can just keep using the stripped down rules, however you want to do it. The Concho, though, it's got a shitload of special rules in there.
Like what?
Well, it's got claws, number one. I believe it has triple strength Myomer as well. I think it's got a supercharger. It's like there's a lot of high tech packed into that mech. I mean, at least it's got the hammerhead to kick the crap out of for like 6 turns, because the hammerheads just don't freaking die. But yeah, I'm wondering how stripped down, like how basic the quick start rules for this are going to be with a mech that has a lot of advanced tech plugged into it already. Oh yeah, and I like Pasta. Yeah, it's also got stealth armor too. So yeah.
Well, so a couple of things. Number one, if you look back here on the solitaire, because so obviously they're giving some extra record sheets, and they're going to give some some standees for them.
Yep, as they do with all as they have with all the beginner box sets. Yeah, nothing.
I'm totally fine with.
Yeah,
because especially this is going to be like maybe a $30 box.
Probably.
I hope they keep it to like 20, 25, but I could see it pushing up to maybe 30 because of inflation, tariffs, and all that kind of nonsense. But my point is, so we've got a heavy small laser, ER small laser, light PPCs. Another thing you could consider is that they're like, this could be a variant of the Conchio that doesn't have that equipment. So, but I also think, I want to say that there was one of the live streams that they were doing during Adepticon where they were talking about like not having such stripped down rules in the starter boxes.
I think the starter box, you should keep the stripped down rules, because I think that you don't want to scare off the normies.
Well, notice it is stripped down a bit right here, because the record sheet doesn't have the internal structure, it doesn't have the heat chart, it doesn't have heat sinks, any of that, and it doesn't have the critical sections. So it is definitely stripped down. But my point is, I think they're trying to. I think they are saying that they've gotten some feedback that they don't necessarily have to keep it super basic 30-25 rules. Because especially think about it, if you're pushing to get everybody into IL-Clan, you kind of have to throw them in with that more complex equipment, because it's all over the place by the IL-Clan era.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes, you can still have legacy mechs, but double heat sinks and XL engines and all that kind of stuff, that is that's like candy. It's everywhere. So
I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. I also don't like the Concho. I don't like how it looks. And those claws are going to be a bitch to actually clean the mold lines off of, because there's going to be mold lines wrapped all around those claws. Because there's always mold lines on every mech that has claws.
Right. But I will actually, I will give it one thing. So real quick, for I Like Pasta, he says, a friend of mine got someone who isn't into tabletops to play the old starter box, and this normie liked the game. The more rules you throw at them, the more they get lost. I don't disagree with that statement at all. Okay. My point is, I think there are some rules that you can put in there that won't break it. maybe something like Mask, maybe a triple strength Myomer. Again, don't quote me on that. I'm spitballing. But a lot of the weapons, especially because your weapons are listed out, like, your range, your damage, all that kind of stuff, that, adding in some of that stuff, it is going to be okay. But you're right. You don't want to overcomplicate it, but I think they can make it a bit more complicated than just vanilla 30-25.
Yeah, I mean the weapons there's not, you can definitely stick the weapons, some of the weirder weapons in there, because there's not a whole lot that's different between like a light PPC. There's not much difference between a light PPC and a regular PPC, at least as far as like complex rules or anything like that. But I think where it's gonna, like, if they include like the superchargers and the triple strength Myomer and all that stuff, I think that's gonna potentially needlessly bog it down.
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying I want to say that I heard them say they were trying to push it a little bit more. So yeah, I think it'll be stuff like you said, the light PPC, heavy lasers, pulse lasers, pulse laser. Oh, you get a +2 on this. Okay, great. There's a bunch that you can do, but I am gonna give the Conchio one thing, and that's the reason I keep zooming in on it. I would actually say that this guy doesn't really suffer from same factory syndrome as much.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is like a unique design with a unique silhouette. I just don't like how it looks.
And that's fair. I'm just saying this is those bulky, like angled armor plates.
Yeah,
this guy.
I mean, to be fair, you can make that you can't really make that argument about the Hammerhead as much, because it's definitely got a weird silhouette to it. Yeah, even if it has very, very chunky legs. But I mean, there's a reason for it, because it does have hardened armor, and it is a bitch and a half to try to actually try to kill this thing.
That's fair. I'm just saying, I think the Hammerhead's a little closer to that same factory syndrome than the Conchio is. So yeah, hopefully that means that future designs are going to move away from that. But we'll see. Anyways. All right. So, folks, there's all sorts of stuff, about Battletech that we haven't covered that has gone on since Adepticon. So we'll add in some more chat, next week. The problem is that Six World and I, we chat a lot offline, or I guess I should say online, off stream. That's the one that I'm going for. So we've already covered a lot of this, but anyways, we'll try and bring up some more stuff later. But I think we've got our audience for today, so we should probably get started. What do you think?
Yeah, may as well.
Okay, fine, I guess. Twist my arm, Six World. Anyways, all right. Let's see here. Let's see here. There's my window. Okay. And last thing before we start, because obviously they're a little bit behind. I Like Pasta says CGL is mostly removing the unique designs and silhouettes as of late. That's what if you ever hear me refer to same factory syndrome, that's kind of what I'm talking about. And that's why I wanted to give the Conchio a little bit of credit, because I think they're trying to actually, I'm hoping it's a sign that they're going to try and push back from that. I could be completely wrong. I'm just hoping. Anyways, all right. Now that we're 40 minutes into this, geez, I should edit this and put up 2 different videos based on it, just so that, they can, people who want just the Gothic stuff can have that. Anyways, all right. So, folks, we, last time we were here, we talked all about movement, I believe it was. Is that what it was? Anyway,
combat. We got through movement and we got through combat.
Right.
So now we're hitting damage, which is the best part of combat.
I mean, if you're not going to do damage, why are you in combat?
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. So our last video was about combat. So now we're going to talk about damage and heat and hopefully other actions. But we've been chit-chatting for so long, we might not be able to get there. But that's a separate problem, folks. For those also of you that are new here, what we're doing a deep dive read through, talking about the rules. Now, keep in mind, these are rules prior to the new core rulebook coming out. We know there's changes. What changes? I don't know. Let's be honest. Any video that this is something I'm going to vent on. Okay. There are some people out there putting out videos of these are the rules that have changed. The rules haven't been published yet. Okay.
Yeah, there's stuff that's been play tested that is changing, but nothing's changed yet.
Right. But there's stuff that was play tested that they straight up said, we tested it and it didn't work, so we're not changing it. So anybody that's doing a video saying these are the changes that are coming based on any playtest documents, they're talking out their ass. And so don't. Just that's anyways, sorry. I just, one of the people that Six World and I know, he did a whole video about it, and it made me angry because he's talking about stuff that they literally said during Adepticon they're not changing. Critical hit table, not changing. They tried it, said it didn't work, so they're not changing it. They tried changing the cluster hits table. Everybody hated it, said it doesn't feel like Battletech, so they're not changing it. So anybody telling you otherwise, tell them to shut up. I promise when the rulebook comes out, I want to do a deep dive like this, even though I have a feeling it will be horrible. Because the way the Battletech books are normally written for like Total Warfare, it's a textbook, and it's not even an interesting textbook. So
yeah, no, the main rule books can definitely be very dry.
Right. And so, but I want to go through it and do it because I want to go through and I want to see how the things changed. And that's one reason that I'm trying to get through Gothic, so that we have this all done before the new rules come out. Maybe. Watch, I'm going to have a heart attack next week and we're going to be delayed another 2 months. Anyways. All right. So before we start, last 2 seconds, folks, thank you so much for being here. We do hope you enjoy this. If you do, please make sure you hit that like button. It absolutely helps us in the algorithm. And, make sure that you are subscribed. I try to put out new videos each week and covering all sorts of tabletop gaming content. And I'd love for you to come along. And I just realized one last thing that I want to say. For those of you who don't know, I have a second channel called Reading Wikis for You. And it's just kind of fun and silly where I just read Wikipedia articles. But I do also read Battletech wikis from sarna.net. So if you want those, make sure you're subscribed. Because like this week or this weekend, I did a video about Solaris 7. And so if you want like a weekly dose of Battletech, then great. There's some extra for you. If, and I cover all sorts of other weird topics. Anyways, so I'll pin it in chat. Okay. Now I'm going to shut up. Now we're going to actually start, talking about our stream. All right. Six World, I've been talking a lot. How about you start us off, please?
All right. Let me get back to my PDF copy here. Okay, damage. This chapter explains how to apply damage to battle mechs and deal with the variety of special effects that can occur as a result of it. Every weapon does a specific amount of damage, defined as damage value, which appears under the damage value column on the weapons and equipment table on page 93, as well as the record sheet. Follow the step-by-step procedure outlined in damage resolution below to determine the effects of damage. Attacks. Remember that damage comes after attacks. All attacks by all mechs in a phase must be declared before you start resolving any of them. Don't bounce back and forth between declaring and resolving for each weapon or each mech. Damaging a mech warrior. This is handled on page 62. All right, damage resolution. Damage from any source is first applied to the armor of the location damaged. If the location is one of the 3 torso locations, the appropriate facing is damaged. Once the armor of a location / facing is gone, any further damage to there is dealt to the internal structure of that location. Each time a location has its internal structure damaged, a critical hit in that location is possible. Once the internal structure of a location reaches 0, that location is destroyed along with everything inside it. After a location is destroyed, further damage that would have been applied to the location transfers inward to its neighboring location. All right, resolution order. The order in which damage is applied is important. If resolving multiple hits on a single mech, be sure that everyone is aware what order the hits are being resolved. The attacker chooses the order in which they determine hit locations and resolve damage for each of their mech's successful attacks. From turn to turn, the attacker can change this order. It is also important to understand that when applying damage, every single hit is completely resolved, both the damage dealt and any critical hits inflicted, before moving on to the next hit. This includes single attacks that result in multiple hits, such as cluster weapons. For example, if a SRM-2 strikes a mech and both the missiles from that attack hit, then the hit location and damage from the first missile is resolved. The attacker determines whether any critical hits occur, resolves each hit that occurs separately, and only then does play move on to resolve the second missile from that attack.
All right, hold up a second. So now I'm feeling kind of dumb, and I probably read this when we did the Game of Armored Combat read through, but am I the only one that we do all of our damage before doing critical hits?
No, I think we do it that way too. I think it just probably depends, because I definitely remember doing it both ways. So it probably just depends on it probably just depends on who you're playing against and whatever flow you all decide to do.
I wonder if that's a legacy rule, because that's the only way I can ever think of doing it.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, you roll all your hits, you roll all your damage, and then you apply all your criticals. So, okay, well, now
that might be a legacy rule, but then again, it might just be how everybody's done it.
Yeah, I don't know. And who knows? Maybe it's going to change again in the new edition. We'll find out, folks. Stay tuned. All right, give us the last little bit.
All right, damage timing. There is a very important distinction between resolving damage and applying its gameplay effects. Damage dealt by attacks made in the weapon attack or physical attack phases, including critical hit effects, is resolved as it happens. However, damage dealt by attacks never affects any other attack made in the same phase. All attacks declared in a phase get to be made. This is true even if a mech is destroyed before the time comes to resolve damage from the attacks it declared and hit with earlier that phase. In other words, attack damage is recorded as hits are resolved, but it does not affect the target until all attacks declared that phase have been resolved. So simply put, everything is happening at the exact same time. So That's why your mech that just had its head blown off can still fire back at the person who blew its head off.
Right. You get that one last, fail safe.
Yep. Or in my case, the mech that gets its head blown off just whiffs every single shot. And dies with dishonor.
I said you get a fail safe. I didn't say it would be successful.
Yeah. All right. Displacement and falls. Unlike attacks, the gameplay effects of damage from displacement and falls are applied immediately rather than at the end of the phase. Piloting skill rolls. The gameplay effects of damage are always applied before any PSRs resulting from that damage. For example, if a foot actuator is destroyed in the weapon attack phase, this forces a PSR. The standard +1 modifier for losing a foot actuator is applied to that PSR as well as to any other PSRs called for that phase and the rest of the game, of course.
Okay. All right. Okay, we're going to skip the examples. All right, so let's learn about critical hits that you take after damage is applied, not all of, or let me phrase, which you take after that specific weapon damage is applied, not all of your weapon damage, as we just learned. Or I should say, I just learned. If a location takes 1 or more points of internal structure damage, but is not outright destroyed, the attacker checks for critical damage by rolling 2d6 and consulting the determining critical hits table. On an 8 or higher, the target mech takes critical damage. Consult the mech's critical hit table to determine the effects. Let's see real quick. I always assumed that the attack phase was a set of time, like 30 seconds, and that is why you can destroy an enemy, but they could still hit you after you hit them. That's the same way of thinking, like whether it's all happening in the same 30 seconds or it's all happening simultaneously. The catch is that it's a board game. You know, things have to things have to happen sequentially, when in actuality they would all be going on at roughly the same time or the same time interval. So yes, that's a perfectly acceptable way to think about it.
Yep.
All right. If a location is destroyed rather than just damaged, no check for critical hits in that location is made unless it contains 1 or more explosive slots. What?
Boom.
Hold on. Oh, if a location is destroyed. Sorry. For some reason, my brain read that as damaged. And I'm like, wait a second. Okay. All right. That was my brain fart, folks. In that case, any resulting critical hits that strike explosive slots in that location are resolved as normal. Hits that do not are always discarded. Okay. So you could destroy a location. You'll still check for your criticals. If it misses the ammo, then go about your business.
Yeah. If it doesn't have ammo, then go out your business. So like if you blow off an arm and there's no ammo in that arm, because who puts ammo in their arms, then it just gets blown off. But if that arm does happen to have like 3 tons of machine gun ammo in it, then you try to, see if you can blow that up.
And you want to know who puts ammo in their arms? People who obey the laws of physics and not Battletech, teleportation technology. That is one thing that just totally does not make any sense. It's like, how does he have 120 missiles? Like even like a rocket pod on a helicopter only has like 20.
Listen, they only it's have the 31st century. We ain't got to explain shit.
All right. The effects of critical hits, such as piloting skill roll modifiers, are cumulative unless specifically stated otherwise and last for the remainder of the game. Certain critical hits may force a piloting skill roll. If the critical hit also applies a modifier to this PSR, that modifier is in addition to any other modifiers unless stated otherwise. Multiple locations. If a single hit damages the internal structure of multiple locations, a check for critical damage is made for each of those locations. Wait. If a single hit damage... How are you going to damage the internal structure of multiple locations? Oh, okay. No. All right. Because you're destroying one location. It has ammo. And then you like, so it had like the internal structure had 3 points left. And
if you stripped off the armor on like the arm and like the torso, and then you blow off the arm has like 3 points of damage, and you blow it off with like an AC 20.
Right. Yeah. My point is just like it's destroyed, and we just learned, okay, you're still going to roll criticals if there's ammo in that location you destroyed, but obviously something is going to transfer and possibly do an internal damage. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, okay.
It's one of those things that when you're playing it, when you're actually playing the game, it makes perfect sense. But if you like sit down and read it, you're like, wait, what?
Which is exactly what I just did. All right. Through armor critical hit. A roll of a 2 on the hit location table might score a critical hit, even if internal structure was not damaged. This is called a through armor critical hit. The chance for a tack is in addition to the normal check for critical hits resulting from damage to the internal structure, and applies even if a mech has no armor left in that location. For example, a hit location result of 2 against a mech with no torso armor left requires 2 rolls on the determining critical hits table. 1 for the tack hit and 1 for the damaging the internal structure. If a tack hit is scored on an already destroyed left or right torso, the chance for a tack transfers to the center torso along with damage. Applying critical hits. Which, real quick, folks, if you get, a 2, that's always fun because, it's the, that perfectly pristine Atlas, and you just rolled a 2 and got 2 engine hit, or scored 3 criticals and took out his engine. Whatever. I don't know. It could happen.
That's how I killed a Warhammer with a Mercury with a small laser.
Right?
Should have dumped that machine gun ammo is all I'm going to say.
Applying critical hits. When the critical damage occurs, unless the location is blown off, the attacker rolls 1 at a time for each critical hit scored to determine which slot in the damaged location that hit strikes. That slot is destroyed. The target player crosses off the slot on their mech's critical hit location table, and it cannot be hit again. The exact procedure for determining which slot is hit depends on the location damaged. Head or leg hits. Roll 1d6, find the result on the critical hit table, and mark off the damage. Oh, and for the record, I am going to have thoughts on this in a minute. Actually, what it was, if the slot is an inapplicable slot, roll the die again. If all slots in the location are inapplicable, then consult transferring criticals. Torso or arm hits. The critical hit table for these locations is divided into 2 blocks of 6 slots, with the first block labeled 1 to 3 and the second block 4 to 6. When assigning a critical to these locations, the attacker first rolls 1d6. This identifies which block of slots in that location takes the hit. On a result of 1 to 3, the hit is assigned to the first block of 6 slots, while on a result of 4 to 6, the hit is assigned to the second block. The attacker then rolls another 1d6. The result of this roll identifies the specific slot in that block that takes the hit. If the slot rolled is an inapplicable slot, roll both dice again, not just the last die. Oh. Okay. So if you roll, top, and it's an inapplicable one, you roll again and maybe you're going to get a bottom one. Okay, interesting. If one of the blocks of 6 is filled entirely with inapplicable slots, simply ignore that block and only roll 1d6 when assigning a critical hit to that location, just as if you were assigning a leg or head critical. If all slots in the location are inapplicable, then consult transferring criticals below. Multi-slot components. Some items take up multiple slots on the critical hit table. A single critical hit disables any item or structural component except the engine, gyro, or sensors, regardless of its number of slots. Critical hits on additional slots occupied by a disabled item only soak up the hit. The slot is destroyed, but no further effects occur. Multi-slot components are marked off on official record sheets by a bracket to the left encompassing all slots of that component. For instance, in the example at the right, the large laser is a multi-slot component. Okay, so yeah, that's what they're talking about. All right. Multiple critical hits. If multiple critical hits result from a roll on the determining critical hits table, resolve each critical hit completely before moving on to the next one. Inapplicable slots. This is where I'm going to have issues. If a critical hit roll would apply damage to a slot for which any of the following applies, it is an inapplicable slot and the player rolls again. So inapplicable slots are the slot has already taken a critical hit in a prior phase or turn. The slot is empty. Let's see. On pre-generated record sheets, empty slots are labeled roll again, and the words in slots that cannot take critical damage always appear fainter than the words in a slot filled with equipment that can take a critical, as you can see here. For an inapplicable torso or arm hit, the attacker rolls both dice again, not just the last die. If all slots in the location are inapplicable, then consult transferring criticals. Okay, I thought I was going to have words, but I'm not. Well, and here's the reason why. It's a complaint that only applies in Clan Invasion and beyond. I don't think it applies in Gothic at all. So, and basically it regards the rules for ferrofibrous armor and endosteel structure. Anyways, so all right. I'm okay with this. On empty slots, okay, fine. There's like not a like it's not like it's just empty vacuous space. So yes, roll again. I'm totally okay with that. All right, transferring criticals. If a critical hit cannot be applied to a location, it might transfer to another location. If all possible slots in the damaged location suffered critical hits in previous phases or turns, or are otherwise inapplicable slots, the critical hit transfers to the next location per the damage transfer diagram. Critical hits to the center torso and head never transfer. If all possible slots in the damaged location were not hit in previous phases, any excess critical hits do not transfer and are lost. Let's see. And destroyed locations, critical hits that occur when a location is destroyed, rather than just damaged, never transfer. It doesn't say, but aren't or wouldn't lost tech items still be in Gothic? I will be honest, right now, I don't know. I like pasta, and I don't. My office is a mess, and I don't know where the physical book is.
I don't think it does have lost tech in the same way that the regular Battletech universe does, because the history doesn't progress necessarily in the same manner.
Right. And isn't the timeline like 30-25 or 30-30?
I think it's in the 30-30s.
Yeah, so like you could say that like the Helm memory core has not been found. They talk about Kerensky leaving the inner sphere, but there's no mention of the clans. There's nothing like that. So any of that lost tech stuff that you would have seen out of like TRO 2750, from what I've read through on Gothic so far, doesn't exist. So, anyways, tell us about critical hit effects.
All right. Let me scroll down here. Critical hit effects. Critical hit types are arranged alphabetically by item. The location of the item on the mech, head, leg, torso, arm, is noted in parentheses in this section. If a critical hit destroys a slot carrying ammunition, the ammo explodes. The mech warrior takes 2 points of damage wounds as a result of the feedback received through their neurohelmet. In addition, the mech takes damage to its internal structure. Critical hit to an ammo slot only explodes the ammo in that slot. The explosion deals damage equal to the ammo's damage value times the shots remaining. Missile ammo explodes with a force equal to the number of missiles remaining times their damage value. For example, 1 full ton of machine gun ammo explodes with a force of 400 points of damage, 2 times 200, while 1 full ton of SRM2 ammo explodes with a force of 200 points of damage, 2 times 2 times 50. Calculate the total damage value of all ammo currently carried in the slot and apply that total to the internal structure diagram. Ammunition explosion damage starts the damage resolution process at step 2, as described on page 51. This usually destroys any mech. As an ammunition explosion damages internal structure, a check for critical hits may be necessary. Empty bins. If an empty ammunition slot takes a critical hit, the hit is still applied there, but no further damage or effects occur. Because you can't blow up what doesn't exist anymore.
But outside of an AC-20 or like an LRM-20, when was the last time you actually ran out of ammo?
It's a good question. I've come close a couple of times because there are variants that are very like ammo light that really need more ammo. But yeah, actually, like machine gun ammo, you're not gonna run out of machine gun ammo.
Exactly.
Not unless you're committing massive war crimes. And even then, I don't think so.
Right.
Anyway, arm blown off. Arm. Okay. This critical hit occurs when the player rolls a 12 on the determining critical hits table for an arm hit and is automatic. The player cannot choose to roll the 3 critical hits instead. The hit blows the arm off. When an arm is blown off in this way, ammunition in that arm does not explode. Though the limb is destroyed, none of the armor or structure on the limb is lost. This is relevant when calculating whether the mech will be required to make a piloting skill roll for having taken 20 plus points of damage at that phase. An arm blown off by a critical hit remains in the hex in which it was lost and may be used as a club. Cockpit. Head. A critical hit to the cockpit destroys that slot, kills the mech warrior, and destroys the mech. Yep,
Duh.
Makes sense. Remove the mech from the map in the end of the phase in which it was destroyed. Yeah, you ain't coming back from that, unfortunately. Not even with all the weird stuff in Gothic. Engine. Torso. Each critical hit to a mech engine slot destroys some of the engine's vital shielding. As shielding is destroyed, the amount of heat escaping from the mech's fusion drive increases. The first hit increases the mech's heat buildup by 5 points per turn. The second adds another 5 points of heat buildup per turn for a total of 10 points per turn. 3 engine hits destroys a mech, remove it from the map, and at the end of the phase in which it was destroyed. Engine hits do not produce heat if the mech is shut down. Makes sense? Foot actuator, leg. This critical hit destroys the muscle actuator in the foot. For each foot actuator damaged, reduce the mech's walking MP by 1. Recalculate its running MP accordingly by multiplying the new walking MP by 1.5, rounding up. PSR modifiers, +1 each for all subsequent PSRs. The mech's controller must make a PSR at the end of the phase in which the critical hit occurred. Additionally, a PSR is required whenever the mech jumps. The roll is made at the end of the mech's movement. Target number modifiers, +1 to all kick attacks, leading to some of the few times when kick attacks could actually fail, because they usually don't. All right. Gyro, torso. The gyroscope keeps the mech upright and able to move safely. The first hit to a gyro damages it, and the second one destroys it. When a mech's gyro is destroyed, the mech automatically falls. Mechs with a destroyed gyro are always prone. They cannot stand up or leave their hex. However, they may change facing by 1 hex side per turn, provided that they have at least 1 MP available and are not considered immobile. PSR modifiers, +3 if damaged for all subsequent PSRs. The mech's controller must make a PSR when the gyro's first critical hit is applied, unless the mech receives a second gyro hit in the same phase, in which case it just falls automatically. A damaged gyro forces a PSR every time the mech runs or jumps, made at the end of the mech's movement. When a mech's gyro is destroyed, the piloting skill roll made to avoid damaging the mech warrior in the fall applies a +6 target number modifier for the destroyed gyro rather than a +3 for a damaged gyro. Hand actuator, arm. A critical hit to the hand actuator destroys the muscles controlling the mech's wrist and hand. The mech can no longer make a physical weapon or club attack with that arm. Target number modifiers, +1 to all punches made with that arm. Missing actuators. Some mechs are designed without one or both hand actuators. The target number modifier for punch attacks given above still applies to such mechs, i.e. whether the actuator is destroyed or merely absent is irrelevant in this case. So if you're trying to punch with your rifleman, you still get a +1 to that roll.
Exactly. You still have no hands.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter that they weren't blown off.
You're just poking them with the gun barrel at that point. All right. Head blown off. Head. A hit blows off a mech's head when the player rolls a 12 on the determining critical hits table for the head hit location. This destroys the mech. Yep. No ifs, ands, or buts there.
I'm just kind of shocked because I don't think I've ever rolled a 12 on a head critical. Like,
yeah, it doesn't happen very often. Number one, it doesn't happen very often when you critical on the head, because usually it's, a small weapon and you're not getting through the armor, or it's like a Gauss rifle or an AC-20 and there is no head to speak of. So yeah, the likelihood that you're going to roll a 12, get a critical, and then roll another 12 is very low.
Right, exactly. So I'd kind of forgotten that, but then as you were reading through it, I'm like, no. Yeah, if you're gonna do 3 critical hits to the head, you're probably hitting the cockpit anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, it's like, okay, 3 out of 6 total, and probably 5 unless you put that one medium laser in the head too.
Machine gun ammo.
Yeah, it's exactly the machine gun ammo.
I like to live dangerously and sit on a time bomb.
Look, if you're gonna go out from an ammo explosion, better to just have it happen than watch it, cascade up the arm. Anyways, no, that my point was, rolling a 12 on determining critical hits is 3 anyway. So 3 out of 5, yeah, chances are you're dead anyways.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
heat sinks. A critical hit to a heat sink destroys it, reducing the mech's ability to dissipate heat by 1 point. For example, if mech with 16 heat sinks has 3 of its heat sinks destroyed, it can only dissipate 13 points of heat per turn. Hip, leg. A critical hit to a mech's hip freezes the affected leg in a straight position. The mech cannot make kick attacks. Additionally, its walking MP is cut in half, round up, apply before any leg or foot actuator damage MP reductions. Recalculate its running MP accordingly by multiplying the new walking MP by 1.5, rounding up. After a hip critical hit, ignore any other critical hit PSR modifiers to that leg from previous phases or turns. Other leg critical hits this phase or later still apply. This means that a mech's performance can actually improve after a hip critical hit if it suffered earlier critical hits to the same leg. Locked in a straight position, a leg with a destroyed hip serves as a sort of crutch. A critical hit to the second hip on a biped mech reduces the mech's MP to 0, but the mech is not considered immobile. 4-legged mechs. A quad mech with at least 1 hip critical hit loses its ability to ignore the target number modifier for firing while prone. 4 hip critical hits reduces its MP to 0, but it's still not considered immobile. PSR modifiers, +2 per hip critical hit. Say that 3 times fast. God. This modifier overrides all other critical hit modifiers from that leg in previous phases. The mech's controller must make a PSR at the end of the phase in which the critical hit occurred. Additionally, a PSR is required every time the mech runs or jumps. The roll is made at the end of the mech's movement. I promise I'm not illiterate. It just really is hard to say hip critical hit consistently.
And he's not illiterate. He's gotten past Go Jane Go like last week. We were very proud of him for it.
Yeah, I can read. Hooked on Phonics worked for me.
I've missed hanging out with you, bud. All right, I'll pick up from here. Jump jets. Each jump jet critical hit reduces the mech's jumping movement point by 1. Obviously, leg blown off. This critical hit occurs when the player rolls a 12 on the determining critical hits table for a leg location hit. You may not choose to roll 3 critical hits instead. When a leg is blown off in this way, ammunition in that leg does not explode. However, the mech automatically falls. Okay. Like arms, I can understand. Ammo in the arm. Like you got a missile launcher in the arm. Put the ammo there. I get it. Why is any ammo in your legs?
Just feeling cute. Might put some machine gun ammo in my legs later.
Right.
For the machine gun that's in the head.
Yeah, for the machine gun. Stupid Battletech ammo teleportation. A leg blown off by critical hit is left in the hex it was lost in and may be used as a club. Life support. Any critical hit knocks out this system permanently and leaves the pilot vulnerable to increased heat. The other critical slot can still take damage, but the hit has no additional effect. The mech warrior takes 1 point of damage at the end of every heat phase that the mech's heat scale is between 15 and 25. If the heat scale is 26 or higher, the mech warrior takes 2 points of damage instead. A life support critical hit also eliminates the mech's internal air supply. If the mech is submerged in the end phase of any turn, the pilot takes 1 point of damage. Also, the mech warrior's popcorn machine stops working.
Well, I mean, at that point, you just push your heat up as high as you can and just stick the popcorn directly on the console.
Well, but then you're going to take damage.
Yeah, but you get popcorn.
That's fair. To explain the joke, when I would stream playing the Battletech computer game, if I was running heat, I always made a joke that I didn't care because it just made the popcorn machine work. So, anyways, I just thought I'd throw that in there. I don't even care. It's my show. I do what I want, folks. All right, lower arm actuator. This critical hit destroys the actuator in the mech's lower arm. Damage from punches with this arm are halved. Target number modifiers: +1 to all weapons firing from that arm, +2 to any punches or physical weapon attacks with that arm, +2 to all club attacks. All right. Missing actuators. Some mechs are designed without one or both lower arm actuators. Such mechs do not suffer the weapon attack modifier for the missing actuators, though the target number and damage modifiers to physical attacks still apply. Let's see. Lower leg actuator. This critical hit destroys the muscle in the lower leg. For each lower leg actuator critical hit, reduce the mech's walking movement point by 1. Recalculate its running movement point accordingly by multiplying the new walking movement points by 1.5, rounding up. Additionally, for each lower leg actuator critical hit, all kick attacks inflict half the standard damage. PSR modifiers, +1 each. The mech's controller must make a PSR at the end of the phase in which the critical hit occurred. Additionally, a PSR is required every time the mech jumps. The roll is made at the end of the mech's movement. Target number modifiers, +2 to all kick attacks. Sensors. Critical hits to mech sensors make weapon attacks increasingly difficult. Critical hits to sensors do not affect physical attacks. Target number modifiers, +2 to all weapon attacks after the first hit. A second sensor hit makes it impossible for the mech to fire its weapons. In both cases, physical attacks are unaffected. And shoulder. Critical hit to the shoulder actuator freezes the shoulder joint. The mech may not punch or make physical weapon attacks with that arm, nor may it make club attacks. Target number modifiers, +4 to all weapons firing from that arm. Overrides all other weapons fire modifiers from critical hits to that arm. And +2 to all push attacks. Upper arm actuator. This critical hit destroys the actuator in the mech's upper arm. Damage from punches with the arm is halved. Target number modifiers, +1 to all weapons firing from the arm, +2 to all punches and physical weapon attacks with the arm, and +2 to all club attacks. All right. Take us away.
No, hang on. I got distracted. We just finished upper arm actuators, right?
Yeah, upper leg actuator. 49.
Upper leg actuator. This critical hit destroys the muscle actuator in the upper leg. For each upper leg actuator damaged, reduce the mech's walking MP by 1. Recalculate its running MP accordingly by multiplying the new walking MP by 1.5, rounding down. Additionally, all kick attacks inflict half the standard damage, rounding down. PSR modifiers, +1 each. The mech's controller must make a PSR at the end of the phase in which the critical hit occurred. Additionally, a PSR is required every time the mech jumps. The roll is made at the end of the mech's movement. And target number modifiers, +2 to all kick attacks. Weapons and equipment. When a weapon or a piece of equipment receives a critical hit, it is rendered useless for the remainder of the game. If the item takes up more than one critical hit slot, its remaining slots are not also marked off. Each can still be hit by the subsequent critical hits. This has no effect other than to absorb the critical hit. For example, a PPC fills 3 critical hit slots. The PPC is disabled as soon as one of its 3 critical slots takes a hit, leaving its remaining 2 slots able to take critical hits, but otherwise resulting in a useless weapon.
All right, hold up. So, aren't there alternate rules in like tactical operations for like damaged weapons as opposed to just like destroyed weapons?
I don't know. I haven't gone into TAC Ops that much. There might be.
Because I mean, that's one thing that like, okay, this is kind of like what I was gonna complain about earlier, as far as like determining critical hit locations. Because this is one thing that I've thought about that, like, you know, like especially like when you have like an AC-20 that's got like 5 critical hits or critical slots, or in this case a PPC with 3 critical slots. I wouldn't mind a rule where, okay, if once more than or like until you've taken critical hits, or with no critical hits it works normally. With less than 50% critical damage, it's a +2 to shoot with the weapon, and then over 50% it's non-functional. I would like something like that. Like in this case, if you have one critical hit on your PPC, well, you can still fire it, but it's a +2. Am I out of line here?
I mean, there might be something like that. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't delved into TAC Ops all that much, but I mean, I would be down with something like that, because then it gives you because then you can't really complain much when you get another critical hit and it hits the PPC, and then you get the third critical hit and it hits the PPC, because then it actually does something rather than just wasting the crit.
Right, exactly. Well, and on top of that, like a lot of people complain that well, okay, some of the complaints I heard about like the proposed rule changes were that it was going to slow the game down because it makes it harder to kill mechs. Like I think one of the proposals was like capping ammo explosion at like 20 points of damage.
Yeah.
Okay. That slows it down. This I don't think would slow it down, because I still have this weapon available to shoot you with and do more damage. Which theoretically could shorten the game. I don't know.
This is true.
Or maybe like a +2 to hit and +1 heat or something. I don't know. My proposals. Take it for what you will, folks. Anyways, all right, let's keep going.
Catalyst should be taking notes.
That's right. We know what we're talking about. Keep going.
All right.
Destroyed locations.
Destroyed locations. If a location is destroyed, all components in that location are also destroyed, as well as all armor points, which counts towards the 20+ damage, forcing a PSR. In addition, the destruction of the head, leg, or torso locations has further effects detailed below. Critical hits. If a location is destroyed by the elimination of internal structure and it contains 1 or more ammo slots, the mech's controller must still check for critical hits in that location. Limb clubs. An arm or leg blown off through critical hits or that fell off due to side torso destruction remains in the hex in which it was lost and may be used as a club. Head destruction. If a head has all of its internal destruction destroyed, the mech warrior inside is killed and the mech is destroyed. Remove the mech from the map in the end of the phase in which it was destroyed. Imagine that.
I love a good headshot.
Yeah, it's always satisfying. Anyway, leg destruction. When a standing mech loses a leg, the mech automatically falls and ends its movement for that turn. The absent leg applies a +5 modifier to all piloting skill rolls. This replaces all other PSR modifiers generated by damage to that leg. The mech is reduced to 1 walking MP. This overrides all MP increases. Overheating or other MP loss effects can reduce that walking MP to 0. It has no running MP and so cannot run unless using the minimum movement rule. If the mech manages to stand, it can jump in subsequent turns, but a PSR is required each time it lands. While the mech with one leg has no running MP, it is permitted to use the minimum movement rule. The mech is treated in all ways as if it ran if it uses this rule. This rule also permits it to make one attempt to stand in each subsequent turn, even though the mech does not have the 2 MP normally required. As a special exception, only one piloting skill roll is required for this attempt, even if damage or other factors means that the attempt would normally require 2 or more PSRs. Loss of both legs. A mech that loses both of its legs automatically falls if not already prone. While not considered immobile, the mech has 0 MP available. It cannot change hex sides or attempt to stand, though it can still attempt to prop itself up to fire if it has both arms. 4-legged mechs. The effects of loss of legs are applied to a quad mech as follows. 1 destroyed leg immediately falls and loses all movement and combat bonuses gained from being 4-legged. It can no longer make lateral shifts. It loses its -2 modifier to piloting skill rolls. It must make a successful PSR to stand after falling, and it suffers a +2 modifier to target numbers for firing when prone. In addition, a -1 MP penalty replaces any penalties associated with damaged leg actuator in the destroyed leg. If the mech jumps, it still must make the usual PSR required for jumping and missing a leg with a +5 modifier. 2 destroyed legs functions with the same restrictions described above for a biped mech that has only lost 1 leg. If it immediately falls, has only 1 MP, and so on. 3 destroyed legs functions with the same restrictions as described above for a biped mech that only has lost both legs. It immediately falls, has only 0 MP, and so on. 4 destroyed legs automatically falls and is immobile. So you don't want to get your legs blown off if you're a quad, or really any mech.
I mean, not standing as a mech is usually not wise.
Yes, although if you are the Thunderbolt that I had in one game, losing a leg just pisses you off.
I'm okay with this.
Yeah. No, I had one game where I had a Thunderbolt who was taking hits from everything, ended up losing its leg, fell down, and rather than getting up, I just propped it up and just started blasting. And for some reason, my ammo or my weapon rolls improved greatly with that. With that mech.
I'm less stable, but I'm way better at hitting you.
Yeah, no, they ended up. The enemy ended up having to focus fire the Thunderbolt down to actually kill it.
That's
because it was damaging them so much.
All right.
Anyway.
I'll pick up here. All right. Torso destruction. Left and right torsos. If a mech's right or left torso has all of its internal structure destroyed, the corresponding arm is blown off immediately. Additional damage dealt in the same phase that would have struck that arm or torso automatically transfers to the center torso. Center torso. If the center torso is destroyed, the entire mech is destroyed. Remove that mech from the map in the end phase in which it was destroyed. 4-legged mechs. If a quad mech loses its right or left torso, the corresponding front leg is blown off immediately. The rear leg is unaffected. Interesting. I wonder why that is. Let's see. Transferring damage. Once a location has been destroyed, all further damage to that location transfers directly to the next location inward. This occurs both when there is leftover damage from the attack that destroyed the location and when damage occurred from hits that later strike the destroyed location. Transfer damage is first applied to the armor of the location transferred to, unless it came from an ammunition explosion. Damage to a missing arm or leg transfers to the torso on the same side. Additional damage to a destroyed side torso location transfers to the center torso. Damage from a destroyed head or center torso does not transfer. The damage transfer diagram illustrates this principle, and the diagrams on the next page explore it in more detail. So here's a standard battle mech: legs and arms into side torsos into center torso into dead. And same deal on the quads. Right legs into right torso, left legs into left torso, torsos in side torsos into center into dead. All right. Determining or damage dealt to the rear hit zone that transfers inward transfers the appropriate rear torso facing. For example, damage from the rear that hits a missing left leg is transferred to the left rear torso. Ammunition explosion. Damage from an ammunition explosion transfers to the internal structure of the next location inward, bypassing the armor entirely. Here's a question that I think I missed, and I'm not sure if it says it. So if I'm attacking from the front, damage to the torso transfers to the front armor of the center torso, correct?
If you're damaging it from the front, it transfers to the front.
Correct.
Yes.
Now,
yeah, I had to think about that for a second.
Now, if I'm damaging the left torso and I destroy the internal structure of the left torso, what happens to the armor on the back of the left torso?
I mean, if the left torso is destroyed, it's just gone.
So if the internal structure is destroyed, then even the armor on the back is gone.
Yeah, because that entire location is gone at that point.
Okay. I had never thought about that until just now, and then I'm like, wait a second. What are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely run into a situation where like maybe there's like an explosion or something, and just the front of the torso is blown off, and like the back's kind of just hanging on there a little bit. But for all intents and purposes, yeah, it's the whole location is gone at that point. So you can't you wouldn't have to go around to the back and like take out the back armor on the center or on the left torso.
Right. Okay. And so real quick, in response to your description of the Thunderbolt, a Nerd says, I freaking adore the Thud. It never does anything flashy, but it always does something and lives way longer than it has any right to. That smexy heavy trooper asymmetric drip don't hurt either.
Oh yeah, no, 100% Thunderbolt is without a doubt my favorite mech, just because it can take dozens of hits and keep on coming.
So yeah, and it is a good looking mech, but I gotta say, Nerd, I love your way with words. It's fantastic. All right, and then we've got I like Pasta saying, I love mixed unit battles. To me, it's fun trying to defend a base with nothing but tanks and infantry versus invaders with mechs. I will be honest, I am woefully deficient in my mixed company rules, because I just never want to play with big stompy robots. Vehicles get distracting. But I love the idea. I love the fact that the stuff exists so that we can do it. All right, destroying a mech. A mech is considered destroyed and out of the game if any of the following occur. Its mech warrior dies, the mech's head location or cockpit is destroyed, or if 6 mech warrior wounds are taken, or its engine is destroyed, caused by it suffering 3 engine hits, or the destruction of its center torso location. Destroyed mechs are removed from the map in the end of the phase they were destroyed and have no further effect on play. Mech warrior survival. A mech warrior dies if the head or head's cockpit slot is destroyed, or if their mech center torso is destroyed by an ammo explosion. Which is very important if you're actually tracking, like stuff for campaigns.
Yes.
All right. Six World sounds busy, so I'll go for our step-by-step damage. All right.
Clacky over here.
No, you're fine. I've been doing plenty as well, so that's why I said I'll take it. All right. Step-by-step damage. The following offers a thorough walkthrough of damage resolution. It assumes that you're familiar with the rest of this chapter. I hope you are. We just finished reading it. To apply damage, begin with the amount of damage inflicted and its hit location and start at step 1. Answer each question yes or no and follow the instructions. If a head, leg, or torso location is destroyed, see the separate sections for each of these events for additional information. Damage transfer. Remember, there is no damage transfer from the head or center torso locations. If a step below would call for transferring damage from one of these 2 locations inward, the attack is finished instead, and the remaining damage is lost because the mech is destroyed. All right. Does the location facing have armor? If yes, check off 1 armor circle on the armor diagram in the location for every point of damage the hit deals until all damage is applied or all armor in the location we're facing is destroyed. Okay, so you fill in the boxes. Oh, look, the arm is filled in. Then we're going to go to step 2. Is there damage remaining? Check off one internal structure circle on the internal structure diagram in that location for every point of damage remaining until all damage is applied or all internal structure in the location is destroyed. Okay, so we're going to check off all of our internal structure points. Go to step 3. If there's no damage remaining, the attack is finished. Does any internal structure remain in the location? Yes, go to step 4. No, go to step 5. So 4. At the start of this phase, did the location have any components that could take a critical? Yes. Immediately roll once on the determining critical hits table. Apply any resulting critical hits to that location. Critical hits that cannot be applied are discarded. No, immediately roll once on the determining critical hits table. Apply any resulting critical hits to the next location inward. Why? Oh, I guess you could have internal structure left, but no components that could take critical hits.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Possible.
Yeah. All right, is there ammunition in the location? If yes, the location is destroyed. Immediately roll once on the determining critical hits table. Apply any resulting critical hits to the destroyed location. Only critical hits that strike ammunition are resolved. If no, the location is destroyed. Is there damage remaining? Yes, the damage transfers to the next location inward. If transferring to a torso location, the damage is applied to the front armor unless the attack came from the rear, in which case it is applied to the rear. Go back to step 1. All right. So there's damage. Any questions? Comments, concerns, or otherwise?
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. We got to go back.
Let's start over from the beginning of the chapter. Page 43 it is. All right. Nerd says mixed units or combined arms. There we go. Is goated. I can't remember the last time I played mechs only. Once you VTOL drop battle armor onto an Atlas's face, or have an infantry squad tag in some Arrow 4 to a face, you never go back.
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I can't argue any of that. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying I haven't played it. That's all.
I'll be honest, it's been a while since I've done combined arms in Classic. Usually if I'm doing combined arms, I'm doing Alpha Strike because I actually somewhat enjoy Alpha Strike, even though it is insanely broken in a lot of it. Like it's better since their 60-page errata drop, but it is desperately in need of a new edition. My God.
I know they said they're working on one, but that's another thing. A lot of people are kind of assuming that it's soon. I don't think we're going to see it for at least a couple of years.
It took them forever to drop the errata that fixed a lot of the pilot abilities and stuff that was insanely broken. So yeah, I don't think I would not expect it within the next year or so. Probably within the next 2 to 3, I would say, is probably more realistic. I think they're gonna get the classic stuff out first, and get that fixed up, and then I think they're probably gonna do Alpha Strike after that.
Yeah, well, what I could see, and yes, folks, we will get to heat in just a minute. I could see this year is new core, so core rulebook, starter box, and then core set or whatever the heck they called it. So that's this year. Maybe next year is Battletech ray guns. And then the year after could be Alpha Strike 2.0.
Yeah, but yeah, potentially. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not enthusiastic on their ability to fix Alpha Strike because I think they are not quite 100% certain what they want Alpha Strike to do, rather than just be, it's the miniatures version of Battletech. So I don't know. Plus, again, their last book for Alpha Strike, the Commander's Edition, needed a 60-page errata to fix it. So I'm not I'm not confident.
That's fair. All right. We've got a couple more comments that we're going to look at, and then we'll get moving. All right. Nerdzerd says the best part of Alpha Strike is how easy it is to make massive combined battles run smooth. I've kind of settled on DFA's override system, though. Captures the best parts of Classic, but better for big battles. I don't know what you're talking about, Nerd.
Override is... It's simply put, it's like DFA's version of Alpha Strike. I haven't looked at it myself, but I've heard people talk about it, and a lot of the people that have talked about it like it. So it's something I might check out at some point, especially if it runs smoother than Alpha Strike does. But yeah, Alpha Strike, just in general, if you want a massed battle, it is a lot easier to do it in Alpha Strike than it is Classic.
Right. I don't know anything about DFA. So, I mean, I know it, in Battletech it's Death from Above, but you're obviously talking about some forum or something that I've never heard of.
Death from Above Wargaming. It's a Battletech podcast.
Oh, well, maybe we'll have to check that out. All right. And then the Remy Luna says, hello, fellow nerds. I see we are talking about Battletech Gothic. Do you have suggestions where to start other than the base Gothic box, lore, etc.? Okay, that's a little, well, it's not really complicated, because the basic box is pretty much all there is. You know, like you can't even get the salvage boxes anymore. But yeah, basically the one Gothic box is pretty much all they've released. They are supposed to be releasing some abominations later this year. I will get them. I will do some reviews of them. But that's, again, down the road. But as far as the lore, the box set does include a universe primer. I actually did a read through of it on the channel. Man, that was back in like January. That feels so long ago.
And it was only 3 months ago.
I know. Okay, no, I did it in December. Because we were getting ready to do this, and so and here we are.
Also, a nerd's nerd, the Alpha Strike Erotica edition is going to be releasing next Valentine's Day. That is with the romance novel that they're going to be doing with Alaric Ward and Anastasia Kerensky. You heard it here first.
The only problem I have here is I don't know how much of that is a joke and how much of it is real.
I guess we got to wait until next Valentine's Day to find out.
I know, and that angers me. Because under normal circumstances, I would, oh my gosh, nerds.
And now a nerd's nerd just made it weird.
Look, under normal circumstances, this would all be a big joke. We would just laugh, haha, no big deal. But no, they've already released one romance novel, and so did they say it's not canon, or
I don't know. They did do it as they did do it as a joke, I think. So I don't think it's canon, but I mean,
well, no, but
given some of the fiction that's come out, who knows?
So the problem is, I think that one is not canon, but I think they are planning on an actual romance novel that is canon.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
And I have a sinking feeling that it's going to be one of those two guys writing it, and I'm going to vomit. Anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Before this goes completely off the rails, Fujoshi Tech, the new rulebook to complement Aerotech and City Tech. I don't know what that means, nerds nerd. Atlas plus Direwolf, a forbidden mecha love story.
I bought the Clan Spaniel book, so I can't complain. I can't say
I heard that was actually decent.
It was. It surprisingly enough, it was an April Fool's joke. And there were some points when it got a little ridiculous, with literally the TV show being the catalyst for every single major event taking place in clans, from the clan invasion all the way up through, the second Star League. But it was actually fairly well done. I was impressed.
Okay. All right. Well, let's try and get through the rest of this. How about you start us off about Heat there, Six World?
All right. Let me click. Oh, hang on. I got to click back because I minimized a bunch of windows and did some stuff. And there we go. There's Heat. All right. Heat buildup is a Battletech's greatest limiting factor. Though a mech dissipates heat through its heat sinks, heat builds up when it moves or fires its weapons, and a high rate of activity can produce more heat than a mech can dissipate. A warrior who pushes their mech past its limits eventually must pay the price. I mean, says you, but anyway. Heat points. The more heat points a mech builds up, the greater its heat. A player tracks their mech's heat points using the column of boxes on the mech record sheet labeled Heat Scale. The Heat Scale records heat levels from 0 to 30 heat points. The overflow box is used to track heat levels above 30. The heat point table indicates the number of heat points generated by various actions and damage. It also shows the number of heat points a mech can dissipate through its heat sinks and by standing in a water hex. As the mech's heat reaches various levels on the heat scale, the mech suffers the adverse effects listed for those levels. Building up heat. Various activities build up heat at different rates. They can be broadly broken down into 3 categories: movement, weapons and equipment, and other. Movement heat. Walking generates 1 point of heat no matter how many MP the mech expends or how many hexes it moves. Had to cough there for a second. Running generates 2 heat points no matter how many MP the mech expends or how many hexes it moves. Jumping. Jump jets generate 1 heat point per jumping MP expended, with a minimum of 3 heat points. For example, when a mech jumps 1, 2, or 3 hexes, it generates 3 heat points. If it jumps 4 hexes, it generates 4 heat points. If it jumps 6, it generates 6, and so on and so forth. Standing up. Each attempt to stand creates 1 heat point in addition to any heat generated by the movement mode the mech is moving that turn, or using that turn.
And real quick, I gotta say, I'm actually glad that I've done this now a couple of times, because like I remember jumping. Okay, it's a minimum of 3 heat points, but I thought it was like 3 plus the hexes moved. But now it's like, no, it's 1 point per hex moved, minimum of 3.
Yeah. So if you only jump 1 hex, you still generate 3 heat.
Right. But if you jump 5, it's not 8 points of heat, which is what my brain, for some stupid reason, was thinking.
No, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. It's just, again, folks, my point being, read your rule books periodically. All right, keep going.
Weapons and equipment heat. Most weapons generate heat points when used. The weapons and equipment table on page 93 lists the heat an item generates, and it's also found on the record sheets. Other heat. Engine critical hits. The first engine hit to a mech generates 5 points of heat per turn. The second hit raises this total to 10 points of heat per turn. This is not applied if the mech is shut down. Outside heat sources. Heat that is applied by external factors such as fire and flamers in heat mode, see supplemental rules, page 79, can also build up a mech's heat. The heating effects of such external sources are cumulative to a maximum of 15 heat points in a single turn.
All right.
Dissipating heat. Heat sinks are how a mech eliminates heat. Each heat sink dissipates 1 heat point per turn. All mechs have at least 10 heat sinks, as shown in the heat data section of a mech's record sheet. Water. Submerged heat sinks dissipate twice as much heat. A mech standing in depth 1 water has its leg-mounted heat sink submerged. A mech standing in depth 2 or deeper water or prone in depth 1 or deeper water has all of its heat sinks submerged, even those in the engine. No more than 6 additional heat points per turn can be dissipated due to water. Recording heat buildup. During each turn's heat phase, each player adds up the heat points built up by their mech. They then subtract the heat dissipated by the heat sinks. The result may be positive or negative. Add the result to the current level of heat shown on the heat scale. So if the result is negative, adjust the heat scale downward. If the result is positive, adjust it upward. The heat scale cannot drop below 0. Overflow heat. Mark any heat generated beyond 30 in the overflow box on the record sheet, which will still need to be dissipated in future turns. Effects of heat.
How often do you bust 30?
Not very often.
I was gonna say I'm paranoid of heat. I barely go over like 10.
Yeah, usually if I'm riding heat, I'm riding like between 5 and 10. Mainly because I try to choose mechs that, if they're not heat neutral, they are close to it. So I don't usually push it up. I mean, I have, but I don't usually push it up that far.
Yeah, I know Max Liao would argue, that's one reason he's a 30-25 purist. Like, he hates like how all the new stuff is like heat balanced as well. But yeah, no, I like even when I'm playing just straight 30-25, it's like let's not push into the heat. That would be bad.
I just don't like doing that much math.
Yeah. Then I don't want to cook off my ammo.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just, it's the math thing for me. I don't care about my ammo.
Fair enough. All right.
Effects of heat. Excessive heat can injure a mech warrior. It can also cause a mech to function less efficiently. The mech moves more slowly, fires less accurately, and may shut down or even explode. Some of those effects are permanent. Others disappear as the mech cools. Heat timing. A mech suffers heat effects after the players have adjusted the heat level for the turn as described above. Resolve shutdown heat effects before the ammunition heat effects. Mech warrior damage due to life support critical hits is resolved last. Applying heat effects. As usual, heat-based modifiers are cumulative with all other modifiers. However, heat-based modifiers of the same effect type are not cumulative with each other. For example, a mech with a heat level of 28 has the following penalties. Ammo explosion, avoid on 8+, shutdown, avoid on 10+, -5 MP, and a +4 target number modifier to weapon attacks. They do not also have, for example, -4 MP and -3 MP and -2 MP, etc. For a given effect type, you only ever use the highest applicable heat scale effect. So you only have to worry about one set of modifiers on the heat scale. You don't have to worry about all of them when you get up high enough.
Yeah, none of it stacks. It's just, whatever the highest value is.
Yep. Movement. At 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 heat points, subtract the number indicated from the mech's walking MP. For example, at anywhere from 10 to 14 heat points, subtract 2 from the mech's walking MP. Remember that running MP is 1.5 times the current walking MP. If the walking MP is reduced, the player must also recalculate their mech's running MP, rounding fractions up. Jumping. Reductions in walking MP from heat buildup do not affect a mech's jumping MP. At 8 weapon attacks. At 8, 13, 17, and 24 heat points, add the number indicated to the mech's target number for weapon attacks, but not to physical attacks. For example, at 8 heat points, add 1 to all weapon attack target numbers for as long as the heat remains at or above 8. Shutdown. At 14, 18, 22, 26, and 30 heat points, a mech attempts to shut down its power plant automatically as a safety procedure. A conscious mech warrior can override the power plant safety shutdown procedure as indicated by the avoid target number listed with the effect, though the shutdown cannot be avoided at 30 or more heat points. If their mech's heat scale is at or above 14, the player rolls 2d6 once during the heat phase. If the roll result is equal to or greater than the highest avoid target number corresponding to the mech's heat level, the pilot avoids shutdown for that turn. If heat accumulation reaches 2 or more trigger levels in one turn, roll 2d6 only once against the highest avoid target number. If a mech shuts down involuntarily, a piloting skill roll is immediately required with a +3 target number modifier. Regardless of how it shut down, any other PSR required while shut down fails automatically. A shutdown mech becomes immobile. Its equipment ceases to function except for heat sinks and life support, and it cannot attack or take any other action. Engine critical hits do not generate heat while a mech is shut down. For every turn that the mech is shut down, its heat sinks dissipate heat as normal. A conscious mech warrior can attempt to restart their power plant during each subsequent turn's heat phase. It must spend one entire turn heat phase to heat phase shut down. To do this, the player first records heat scale changes for the turn and then rolls 2d6. If the result is equal to or greater than the highest current avoid target number, the power plant restarts. A mech may move and fire in this turn following the turn in which the power plant is restarted. When the heat drops below 14 on the heat scale, the power plant restarts automatically, even if the pilot is out of action.
All right, real quick. So I actually really like that they've done this with the heat chart, because what we were saying earlier about, like, you know, you only use like the biggest or like the quote unquote worst modifier, like right here. It's like, okay, so +2 modifier to fire, -2 movement points, +1 modifier, plus or -1 movement points. Well, it's like, oh, I just need 1 green and 1 red. Okay, cool. I can ignore these. Just take the 2 at the top. You know, farther up the heat scale, great. +3, -3. You know, I'm not going to have to avoid an ammo explosion on a 6+ and a 4+. I'm just going to roll it once on the 6+. So again, it's just color coded, real easy to see. So anyways, I just wanted to point that out.
Yep. Nope. I like it. It's good. All right. Aim shot. Enemies can target a shutdown mech with aimed shots. See page 26. Overflow heat. A mech's heat scale must be below 30 before a restart can occur. Voluntary shutdown. Players may elect to voluntarily shut down their mech during any end phase. This does not force a piloting skill roll. They may then restart the power plant in any subsequent end phase, provided they first pass any shutdown avoid checks due to heat if needed. Ammunition. If a mech with unemptied bins of ammunition reaches 19 points or higher on the heat scale, one of these bins may explode. To avoid an explosion, the mech's controller must roll 2d6 once and meet or exceed the target number of the highest ammo explosion threshold reached. A mech with 19 to 22 heat would need to roll 4 or higher, 23 to 27 heat at 6 or higher, and 28 to 30 heat and 8 or higher to avoid. When an overheated mech's ammo explodes, the ammunition critical slot with the most destructive ammo per shot explodes first. Ammo per shot is defined as the damage value done by 1 turn's worth of shots. For example, the ammo per shot of a machine gun slot has a damage value of 2, an LRM-15 a damage value of 15, and an SRM-6 a damage value of 12. If a mech carries 2 ammo slots with equivalent per shot damage values, the mech controller chooses which ammo explodes. All of the appropriate ammo type in a single critical slot explodes. If more than 1 critical hit slot holds the appropriate ammo type, the one with the most shots remaining explodes. If 2 or more locations have an equal number of shots remaining, randomly determine which one explodes. Then resolve the explosion following the rules in critical hit effects. As ammunition explosion has no effect on any mech other than an ammunition explosion has no effect on any mech other than the one that suffered it. Mech warrior damage. Ammunition explosions automatically injure the mech warrior, inflicting 2 points of damage and thus forcing 2 consciousness rolls. Damage to mech warriors. If a mech's life support system takes 1 or more critical hits, its mech warrior suffers damage. When the mech's heat levels are high, the mech warrior takes 1 point of damage wound at the end of every heat phase. That the mech's heat scale is between 15 and 25. If the heat scale is 26 or higher, the mech warrior takes 2 points of damage instead.
All right. So, I have been informed that I have to go be grandpa. So,
That's fair.
I think we have hit a good stopping point. Plus, we're at 2 hours, but I blame the fact that, you know, we were chitty chatty for a bit at the beginning. So,
yeah, it's your fault.
Yeah, it usually is. Let's see. Before we do that, I want to bring this up. Nerds Nerd says +7 is the optimal heat outside of point blank or pulse plus targeting computer. But if you're gonna I think she meant die. If you're gonna die this turn anyways, or have a chance to backstab a mech twice your size, 30 heat becomes the minimum. I mean, I would say just like it doesn't matter. It's you fire everything. If you're gonna go into like 87 heat, sure, just you know, shoot everything you got. So anyways, super agree with that. All right. And then I like pasta says, when is the next play and discussion video? When is the next play and discussion video there, Six World?
I don't know. I mean, it's been what, 2 months since the last one, so
Look,
it could be anywhere from next week to 2 months from now.
You're supposed to say it's going to be next week. Okay, keep us responsible. No, the plan is to do it. Like I said, I think we're gonna have maybe like a total of 3 videos left, including this one, because the rules are mostly done.
Yeah, there's not much left.
Yeah. So, but next week, we'll cover other actions. Oh, no, wrong one. That one. We're going to cover other actions, but that's only a few pages. I wanted to cover it today, but like I said, I get to go be grandpa because grandma has other things she needs to do. So we'll do other actions, and then we'll do the abomination rules next week as well. And then we'll probably come back and do one more video to just kind of clean up, look at the rest of the book. That's got like the quote unquote tech readout that they've got. But then there's also a lot of charts that we're not going to sit there and read all of the charts. So, no big deal. So before we go, Six World, anything you would like to shout out, talk about, mention, complain about, etc.?
Okay.
I mean, I do technically have a YouTube channel. It's been a while since I've done anything on it, but it's the same name as myself. You can go back and look at some of my older Shadowrun content. Haven't decided what I'm going to be doing with it, or if I'm going back to it, or what. I don't know. We'll see. Other than that, all my socials are also on there too. So you can look all that up. I will be warned on my Twitter. I do tend to get a little spicy.
Just a scotch.
A little bit.
But regardless, I like Six World. That's why he's here. So, whether he keeps his channel going or does something else, you know what? I'm glad he wanted to hang out with me. So I'm also glad that the rest of you wanted to hang out with us. I hope you found it interesting. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. Of course, as always, hit that subscribe button because I do try to put out, at least some regular content. And of course, go and the linked comment in chat is over to my Reading Wikis channel. Go subscribe to that one because I need some more subscribers over there. But regardless, thanks so much for watching, everybody. We're gonna bounce, and we will see you next Monday. I promise, next Monday we'll be back. Unless I'm dead.
Unless we're back 2 months from now.
Unless we're back 2 months from now, and we've cursed ourselves. Bye, everybody.